And Samir, where do you see a Supermorpheus evolving? Definitely as a group, as a team, or as a, I'll say, a collective tribe of founders in next 3 to 5 years. Do you foresee
See,
anything?
we'll go wherever the universe takes us. That's obviously the case. But I think in practical terms, I think uh, I see it more growing in terms of depth, basically.
Hmm.
Depth and outcome. So I would say that one could categorize that for the first 5 years, if not more, what we are doing as a group, as a community, is basically we are sowing seeds of conscious individuals and conscious companies, right? And we are trying to do something which inherently takes time. Individual takes time to grow and build when you do it very carefully, and a company takes time to grow. And see, we are doing it in a world which is not really designed for such stuff. A world which is designed for competition, right? So I would think the first 5 year is the time of putting in the effort. So one would not see too much of outcome in the world. You will see it if you are part of the community. You will feel the transformation. But from an outsider perspective, you wouldn't see what are they contributing to the world. That will not be there. But I think 5 to 7 years is that cycle which will it take when people and companies which are built within the Supermorph ecosystem will start impacting, participating in the world at a more visible scale, right? So I
And I
think
think
that's the
collective growth is something which essentially would be triggered through the
yeah.
entire
So because
philosophy and
yeah,
culture.
yeah. So we have taken on a much more complex in a long term sort of an issue. To build consciousness first at individual level, then it comes together at a collective level. So I would say we've been already around 3 years. I would say give it 4 or 5 years, and you would have a proof of this thesis, that this thesis can lead to practical impact in terms of very good products, very good people, and the investors who have been participating in investing with us, them making money. So a lot of the outcomes, you could say, so-called outcomes of this cycle will be visible in 3 to 5 years, which I think will be a kind of that will create a pull of sorts, because once that cycle is proven, it will pull more people in the same direction, which
Hmm.
will happen in two ways. One will be that more people would be part of Supermorpheus itself, right? But there will be other parallel communities which will which will probably go in the same direction in their own ways, basically. And this is something, by the way, we saw exactly replica in the Morpheus time.
Hmm.
So first 3 years of Morpheus was all about doing the work. We were the few people who believed in it, right? And 3 to 4 years later, when certain portfolio companies of Morpheus started to be considered as successful as per the world standards, which is basically in those days it was about fundraising. Let's say three names I
Hmm.
will take: Practo, which got funded by Sequoia and Matrix, then Interview Street, which went to Y Combinator, and then let's say Common Floor, right? So 3 4 years later, these three were visibly from our portfolio, right? So that certainly made a lot of people come and wanting to be part of our journey. At the same time, it also led for many more accelerators to start,
Hmm.
right? So I see a similar process which will unfold in case of Supermorpheus, but instead of taking 3 years, which it took for the cycle to happen in the Morpheus, I think this one will take 7 years, and we are okay with it. I
Because
think
the problem statement is much more deeper
yeah,
from the
yeah,
human
more
psychology
deeper,
perspective.
more deeper, more complex, and we are prepared for it. I mean, if we had tried to do this in Morpheus, we wouldn't be able to do it. We were not simply not ready for it, basically, right? So, and the thing is, see, Morpheus honestly was a problem where, as a core team, we could take it on, basically. But Super
Hmm.
Morpheus, the day we started, we knew that this is not going to be done by 5 10 people. It needs few hundred minimum,
Hmm.
right? So that is why we reached out to all the Morpheus gang people saying, dude, come back and be part of this founding team of this thing, right? So we look at Supermorpheus, everybody as a founding member who can push this further, because it's a much bigger problem which we as a group we have taken on, right? So at the core level, so basically, so I think that makes it much more fascinating, actually, if you ask me. I'm very fascinated. And see, I'm very fascinated because I keep seeing small progresses which happen, when people meet and they collaborate, learn each other, help something. So I keep seeing all that stuff, but obviously that's not visible to the world at large, right? But I honestly, one thing I see is that the way people are building stuff and collaborating with each other, yeah, it's very sincere. I find a very genuine sincerity in that. And in some ways, I think it has helped that the world became downturn of economy, right? So in a way, when the economy is down, right, it's not, money is not distracting people. There's no money available, right? So more people are able to stay true to their own nature, and that helps basically. It will help. It's very fortunate, or whatever, the design of the world, that it all happened. It all came in 2022, basically, when the world markets crashed. And I think this crash will last. This phase will last slightly longer, actually, because we have one more war going on right now, right? So I think these are good times for such something like this to happen, basically.
And also, I think this also has led to breaking down the fundamentals of having those egos in place, which I certainly believe, which actually is amassed by getting capital sort of things. But as you see the tough times, you start asking for help, and that's where you actually go down to a more human level.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So a time when there is too much money available, even an individual who might have stayed a straight path, a more
Hmm.
genuine path, gets distracted by this capital. And I was one of them. I mean, that is how I got distracted in Madhouse time. We were walking a very straight, simple path, but suddenly the money was visible, and then you start running towards money, and you lose your own path, right? So I have path and then come back to it, right? So one of my attempt is to, can we help people not lose their path, basically, because obviously they will come back to their fundamental nature, but it might be a loss of 2-3 years, basically, right? So can that be
Exactly.
saved, basically?
And I think it's a high time to have that community feeling, because everyone knows profits and pat and whatever you call it doesn't come by itself. You have to take the ecosystem in place.
Yeah,
So,
see, that's
Samir,
the that's exactly what I'm saying. You see, if there was a different kind of a wisdom which you get access to by being part of a community, it will save you from the stupidity of the mainstream ecosystem. That is the meaning of, I would say, that is the value of any small group, small community, which has its own flavor and mindset of wisdom, which is going on, right? So it is always going, will go beyond and deeper than the mainstream ecosystem. Basically, that's what it is, I think.
so Samir,